my opinion that Trump will not want to plow billions of US dollars into Israel to allow Netanyahu to keep fighting wars in Gaza and Lebanon. He will want them wrapped up.
Talk to him, and what advice, if any, you're giving him about a ceasefire, about ending this war?
The last time I saw him was at Mar-a-Lago, and he came with his wife and a large group of people. And we had a very good relationship with him and with Israel. Again, this would never have happened. October 7th would have never happened, would have never ever happened. And he asked for the meeting. We had the meeting. It was about 2 hours, 2.5 hours long. And I expect I might be talking to him, but I haven't since then.
Did you encourage him not to take a ceasefire deal? Did you give him any advice about ending the war?
No, he knows what he's doing. I did encourage him to get this over with. You want to get it over with. It has to get over with fast. But have victory, get your victory, and get it over with. It has to stop. The killing has to stop. Yes, please.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he's spoken with the US President-elect Donald Trump 3 times since the presidential election less than a week ago, and that they see eye to eye on the threat from Iran.
בימים האחרונים אני שוחחתי 3 פעמים עם הנשיא הנבחר דונלד טראמפ. אלה היו שיחות טובות וחשובות מאוד.
Well, Netanyahu said, I spoke to President-elect Donald Trump 3 times last week. They were very good and productive conversations. We will not allow these atrocities to repeat themselves. Trump and I see eye to eye on the Iranian threat. Well, meanwhile, Qatar has told Hamas that it will no longer host the militant group's political office in Doha unless the group engages in constructive and meaningful talks with Israel. Qatar's been acting as a mediator in peace talks between the two parties, but it now says it will withdraw from that role until Hamas and Israel demonstrate a sincere willingness to return to the negotiating table with the objective of putting an end to the war and releasing the hostages. Alistair Bunkall is the Middle East correspondent for Sky News. Good afternoon, Alistair.
Hi.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Tell us, first of all, the significance of what we're hearing from Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that he's had not just 1 but 3 chats with Donald Trump already.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be sort of about 3 conversations in the last 4 days, assuming that Netanyahu, what he says is accurate. No doubt, Netanyahu wanted Trump to win the election, and he's got his wish. And not just that, it looks like the Republicans will also have the Senate and the House of Representatives as well. So there will be a friendly administration in Washington, more friendly probably than I think Netanyahu would have seen the Biden administration. And Netanyahu sees opportunities going forward. This is, Netanyahu's readout of his conversations with Donald Trump. Trump, though, has made it quite clear that he doesn't see himself as a president who starts wars. He's not a president who likes to prop up other people's wars. I mean, just look at his approach to Ukraine, Taiwan, for example. It's my opinion that Trump will not want to plow billions of US dollars into Israel to allow Netanyahu to keep fighting wars in Gaza and Lebanon. He will want them wrapped up. Now, we'll see, whether that happens. And if it does, how quickly it will happen. But I think there's common ground between the two leaders. But also, I think Trump will want Netanyahu to finish up in Lebanon and possibly Gaza as well.
Well, we've now heard that Qatar, which was the one nation that was working as a broker between Hamas and Israel, and it did help to bring about that previous, at least brief ceasefire and hostage release in the past, but it now seems to be pulling out of the whole process. How significant do you think that move is?
Well, I mean, the Qataris have taken a lot of heat for hosting Hamas, particularly the political office in Doha, over a number of years. I mean, the truth is that the Americans approved the presence of Hamas in Doha, and it was actually very useful because Qatar is a friendly country to the Americans and to many in the West, but also is a place where Israeli intelligence officials could fly into and hold ceasefire talks. So it was useful that Hamas were there, at least as long as there was an opportunity to try and broker a ceasefire. But many, many times, whether it's meetings in Doha or meetings in Cairo or elsewhere, attempts to try and broker a ceasefire have failed. And I think the Qataris have got fed up. I think it's a combination of them being fed up. It's not worth their reputational damage anymore. I think the Americans have got fed up as well and said that they don't want the Qataris to host Hamas. But the Qatari statement also very, very much pointed the finger at Netanyahu and said it was a failure of both sides for not wanting to compromise, for not budging on their position. And that's why the ceasefire talks made no progress. So, this is a sort of a goodbye to Hamas, although maybe in part it's a final ditch effort to see whether or not Hamas will agree to something. Otherwise, they lose their cozy lifestyle in Doha.
But if you have no one even attempting to bring the two sides together, you have Donald Trump about to take up office in the White House again, apparently having cozy chats with Benjamin Netanyahu. Does that not just strengthen the Israeli hand, that of Netanyahu and his very hardline government, to simply pursue the military results and the military solutions that he is looking for against both Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon and potentially Iran as well?
I think there's more signs that Netanyahu wants to get to some sort of deal in Lebanon, and quite quickly as well. Actually, I mean, Carol, minutes before we started speaking, Israel Katz, who was the Israeli foreign minister, is now the new defense minister since Yoav Gallant was sacked, has been quoted as saying Hezbollah have been defeated. I mean, that's not true. But if that is a sort of an indication of where the Israeli kind of spin on their operation in Lebanon is going, then I think it would feed into the idea that Netanyahu wants some sort of resolution in Lebanon. Gaza's very different. I personally can't see anything happening there for a long time. But just because Qatar removes itself as a mediator from the talks doesn't necessarily mean the talks can't run any further. I mean, first, you've still got the Egyptians. They've been a key mediator as well. But also, this might be an opportunity to resume secret, direct back-channel negotiations between Hamas and Israel directly, which might be more successful than going through third parties as they have done. Because, we can't take away from the effort that the Qataris and the Americans and the Egyptians have been putting in, but it hasn't worked. And so it might be a chance to try something different.
Alistair Bunkall, Middle East correspondent for Sky News. Really good to speak to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.